Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, may I have your attention, please? Are you ready to engage in a mind-blowing experience and hear talks about life, technology, entertainment, and business? The next episode of HIPTHER Talks starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi guys, Zoltan here from HIPTHER Talks. We're back again. Today I have with me Stefano Sordini, CEO at NETSHOP ISP, our friendly hosting provider. Stefano, could you give a brief introduction about yourself and your company?
Yeah, hi Zoltan. It's good that we meet again after some time. So I'm Stefano Sordini. I'm the CEO at NETSHOP ISP. NETSHOP ISP was founded in 2004, and since then we have been providing data center and hosting services to individuals and businesses. We are focusing in mainly three industries: the iGaming, Forex, and the IT industry. We have been awarded with 3 awards as the best iGaming hosting provider, and I'm here to help people to understand a few, let's say, terminology or the basics of web hosting that they will need for their business purposes.
Yeah, so basically this episode is dedicated as almost like you can look at it as a hosting explained to dummies,
Yes.
because we are going to approach some terminology that exists online, but many of the users are maybe questioning about what does that exactly mean. So let's start off with shared hosting. This is a common terminology that you can find online. Could you tell us what is shared hosting and what are some of its purposes?
Of course. So shared hosting, if you bump into this service or terminology, most probably it's that you were looking for a provider to host your WordPress or any other kind of website. Shared hosting is when you have multiple websites or web space for email hosting or anything else run on a single server. This is the cheapest form of hosting. Is used for quick deployment. So by ordering, you have a web space available to you within minutes. Providers offer it as fully managed. So any business that goes for shared hosting, they expect that everything is set up and ready for them, and they only need to upload their website files. Shared hosting is good to start fast, to start cheap, but is not good if you expect to have high traffic on your website, or you are hosting, let's say, an e-commerce site. You have thousands of products, and it's quite heavy website, so it needs more resources than what the shared hosting can provide. Another benefit of shared hosting is that most providers, they provide a one-click installation for the most popular content management systems. So after you order, you may see a button, install WordPress or install PrestaShop or OpenCart. So it makes the life of the business owner or individual, much easier.
Yeah, and it's fully managed.
It's fully managed, yes.
Yeah. All right, so that's shared hosting, and now we can talk about dedicated hosting. What is dedicated hosting service, and when is it used?
So dedicated hosting, it's, let's say, the next step if shared hosting cannot accommodate your needs. With dedicated hosting, you are given the entire server to use it as you like. You have full access of the resources of the server, that is the whole disk space, the whole memory, and the whole CPU processing power. So this is the best if you know that your website or your database or your any application you host will need all the resources of the server. It's more expensive, of course, than the shared hosting. Just to give some figures, shared hosting you can start from €5 a month, whereas a dedicated server might the prices can start from 60 or 70 euro per month, and then can climb up to a few €100 per month. The most important aspect that someone needs to know about the dedicated server is that you have full control of the server, so you get full access on it, something that you don't have in shared hosting, and it's much better in terms of security. You have a website on shared hosting, uses with website hosted on the same server, with whatever security implications that may cause. On a dedicated server, you and only you are have access on the dedicated server.
Yeah, and it's much more customizable. You can have all these backup, and you can add memory and hard disk to it. Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so now that we touched based on the two most important ones, we will. Do you want to dive into VPS as well, or?
Well, VPS, of course, we can say a few words to explain. Actually, VPS is in between shared hosting and dedicated server. VPS, you may also find it as a cloud server or a virtual machine, or in Eastern Europe you may find it as VDS, that is virtual dedicated server. So a VPS or a VDS is you get a fraction of the resources on a dedicated server. So it's not shared hosting, it's not dedicated server, it's somewhere in between. Now, in my preference, this is the best option for someone to go who doesn't want shared hosting for either security or resources, but doesn't have the budget or the knowledge to manage a dedicated server. So a VPS, you get a more isolated environment, you get all the benefits of the cloud services, automated backups, scalability when you need it. It's much easier to upgrade disk, RAM, and CPU than what it is with a dedicated server. So as we speak, VPS, or to the most common terminology, a cloud server, is what is generally preferred.
All right. So now we're going to touch base on colocation as well, because this has been trending for a couple of years now with the GDPR and everything. That colocation was very important. And could you let us know what are the advantages of colocation?
Yes. First of all, Zoltan, something that, because I'm attending a lot of online discussion panels and webinars and workshops, and I want to make something clear for the business owners that let's say they are afraid of cloud because they believe that their data is somewhere hanging on the air.
Yeah.
So colocation is the base of cloud hosting. If you go to Amazon or NETSHOP or Azure or Google Cloud, if you buy a cloud server or any other cloud computing service, this is actually hosted on a colocation form of hosting. So what is colocation? Colocation is when you get your hardware and equipment, that is dedicated servers, network switches, firewalls, you rack them up and you collocate them at the data center. So cloud is not internet on the air.
Yeah.
Cloud is a cluster of hardware in a data center which with the right software behind it, it can be distributed as cloud. So colocation is trending, it's a trending, let's say, terminology or service just because cloud is trending.
Got it.
So companies, if we have to say a few advantages, is that for a business that is looking ahead, colocation can be more cost effective than leasing servers. That is because if you do simple calculations, you pay €200 a month for a server. If you were buying the server and colocating, you would be saving a lot of money after a period of 3-4 years. So unless you are a startup that you don't want to, increase your startup costs, colocation is the right option to go for. Colocation at the data center is also important and popular because with the recent electricity spikes in Europe and everyone else in the world, companies cannot afford to have the servers in their offices. Yeah. In the 90s and early 2000s, every office had a small rack with a network switch and a server that was used for, Active Directory or file server. However, this increases the electricity cost of the office and also the administration overheads. So if you go with colocation, you know that your provider is there to provide you with support 24/7. Plus, you get all the benefits of a data center: redundant network, redundant cooling, redundant electricity, and it's much more secure than relying on your office building electricity and air conditioning for the servers to operate.
Yeah, exactly. Not to mention the security.
And the security, yes.
All right. So you touched based on cloud, and it's trending. And thanks for clearing this up, because many are thinking that cloud hosting is actually done on a cloud somewhere in the air. Yes. So what are the advantages of cloud computing?
Yes. And here, because you mentioned the word GDPR, it doesn't mean that if you have critical data on cloud that is not, you are not GDPR compliant. Yeah. So cloud providers nowadays, and that's why there are regions to choose when you go for cloud. So if you have an audience that is, UK or in Europe, you can choose a regional cloud location. So yes, if we are to go on the, let's say, advantages of cloud computing, it's more or less what we mentioned about the virtual private server, the VPS. So with cloud computing, you get a very fast deployment of servers and web services. With the click of a button, you can deploy a virtual server, you can deploy a WordPress website, you can deploy a Microsoft or MySQL database, and have it up and running at the blink of the eye. Cloud computing also should offer, not all the providers do it, seamless backup and data restoration.
Very important.
Yes, and that is one of the greatest advantages over a dedicated server and colocation, especially with colocation that you need to take care of the backup by yourself, maybe through an external disk or a storage server. In cloud computing, in a cloud infrastructure, backup is done at the click of a button, and the same with data restoration. Another advantage of cloud computing is the ease of migration of web services between providers or regions within the same provider. So before, if we talk about 10 years ago, it wasn't easy to change a hosting provider or to migrate your data from London to Singapore or from Singapore to New York. Now, with the topology that cloud computing offers, you can migrate your data or your servers from Amazon to Azure or from Azure to Google Cloud seamlessly, or migrate data for the needs of your service in any region without any hassle. This is one of the, from my experience, this is one of the main reasons that customers prefer cloud computing. The second most popular reason businesses choose cloud computing is because of the scalability. Scalability is the feature, let's say, that your business infrastructure has in case that there is high demand for traffic or CPU or RAM or disk space, so it can accommodate the peak hours.
Yeah.
So if we take as an example a sportsbook operator, Monday to Friday, the traffic is, let's say, more or less the same. Yeah. On the weekend, when there are a lot of games happening, more people are accessing the website. So that server, with the right scalability tools, it is able for the IT manager or the business owner to allocate more bandwidth on the cloud server during the weekend and then lower it down Monday to Thursday to save some costs.
Yeah.
This is something that it's very, very popular, and it's also it's not just about accommodating high traffic, but also to, let's say, be able to control your monthly hosting expenses. So you don't have to pre-purchase a lot of bandwidth.
Yeah.
You purchase the base and you can scale whenever you need so. Then we have what we mentioned earlier about VPS and cloud computing. Any startup can quickly launch a server in cloud without the need of having to purchase a server or invest a lot of money in the initial phase of their business launch. There is a very low maintenance cost. That means, startups nowadays, you get the business owner who doesn't mean he or she is technically literate. So with the cloud server, you have your cloud provider to take care of everything, and you have to focus on your core business. Not all providers offer fully managed service, so this is another thing we can discuss, what to check to find the best hosting provider to fit your needs.
Got it. Yeah, you mentioned the seamless backup and data restoration. That's very important, because if you're going to do a full restore, maybe do it from a bare metal restore, it takes about 8 to 10 hours if you're doing it for maybe a full dedicated server. And and in terms of cloud computing, how fast is it?
Well, it really depends on various factors. But the main factor that is, let's say, responsible for the time for the backup to be completed and the time for the restoration to happen is the latency.
Okay.
Latency is the distance between the source and the destination server. So if you have a cloud server in Hong Kong and a cloud server in Frankfurt or Amsterdam, the latency is the main factor that will
affect the
yeah.
Got it. All right, so edge computing, what is meant by edge computing and how is it related to the cloud?
Okay, so edge computing, now we are entering a bit more deep waters, and I will not go into very technical terms. Basically, I will mention that edge computing, if you Google edge computing, Amazon will come first. Amazon is, I would say, the #1 provider for edge computing. What is edge computing and how is it related to the cloud? So imagine that you have a cloud server launched in Amsterdam. That cloud server, in this cloud server, you host a website. On that cloud server, your website is using the CPU, the RAM, and the disk to facilitate what the website needs to do to the users. Now, if you had the need to search or to ask an IT consultant about edge computing, it means that your business infrastructure is a bit complicated. Complicated not in the bad word, but in the meaning of you have a lot of needs. The main reason businesses go for edge computing is those businesses that they have centralized hosting and they serve, let's say, high-end applications in far locations. So an example is, let's take an online casino. They have their main infrastructure in Amsterdam, but they have a lot of players in Asia, Singapore or Malaysia. The casino software, let's say blackjack game, the algorithm needs to do some calculations in real time. In iGaming, there is no, the players cannot afford, lagging. So if you choose to play a card, you cannot wait 2 seconds. It needs to be instant at the same time. So the edge computing kicks in this scenario. You have your main, let's say, website functionality and database on the cloud server in Amsterdam. But since the statistics show that you have a lot of traffic and players from Malaysia, you need to, let's say, make the distance between Malaysia and Amsterdam as close as possible. In order to do that, to bring the Malaysia closer to Amsterdam, you can do it with an edge server. Edge server is a form of computing that you can deploy, let's say in Singapore, as near as to your end players as possible, which is responsible to do all the computing and calculations between the source, which is Amsterdam, and the end user. So the edge server takes their own data from the user and from Amsterdam, do all the calculations needed in milliseconds, so the user does not have a feeling that he's communicating with the far-end server. So this is, I hope I was, clear and as clear as possible for this. Edge computing, in a few words, is the technology that minimizes the data processing time near a particular data source and data destination.
Well put. Well put.
I hope that was clear.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I invited you for this episode, because you are our favorite guy when it comes to hosting and explaining this stuff.
Yes. It's I have this, I would say, since COVID started, where people, actually everyone went online. Yeah. We've seen YouTube and Instagram and Spotify having a lot of bandwidth needs. Even YouTube, for some weeks, they had the high quality video disabled, just to accommodate the needs due to the high traffic load. We have been consulting a lot of companies who were experiencing issues related to bandwidth, and here is where edge computing comes into play. Even if your infrastructure is having 10 Gbps internet speed, even if you have the most advanced servers, even if you are hosted at the best provider, that doesn't matter, because if you want to serve clients in Colombia or in China, edge computing is what making the difference.
All right. So what is the most important aspect a company or individual should consider when choosing their hosting provider?
Well, there are a lot of factors. It always depends what the customer is looking for. In my opinion, in the industries that I'm involved with, the locations that the hosting provider offers is very important. Whether you are an SEO marketing agency or an iGaming provider or a forex broker, actually any industry that is serving clients from anywhere in the world, the locations of the hosting provider is very important. You may want to start from a main location with high internet speed like London or Amsterdam, but you will want to know that with the same provider, you can expand in other regions if needed. So it's hosting locations and the features for scalability. So if you combine this with the offering of cloud service, you get a magic recipe of setting up a cloud server very fast, being able to scale resources and scale regionally. So it's locations, scalability, and let's say the two main important factors to choose when choosing a hosting provider. Now, if you have a lot of options, you may want to go and do some, market research. There are thousands of review sites nowadays. For example, you can search the hosting providers in Trustpilot and see, what rating they have, any recent complaints by customers. You have public uptime services that you can check historically how many downtimes this provider had and what is the, let's say, average uptime that you will also be having. The other important aspect that I even do when I'm choosing some suppliers, you want to check the response time of customer support and customer service.
Yeah, very important. Yeah.
Yes. So let's say you are based in London or you are based in Malta, and you have a need for servers, and you find a hosting provider. You want to check where they are based, and you want to check at random times if they have live chat available and how fast they respond to tickets. This is very important because when a problem occurs, you really need to know that you can pick up the phone and give them a call to sort out the issue. If phone is not available, then you want to check if live chat is available. Generally during issues, no one will open up their email to send a ticket to support. They will either call or go on live chat. So this is a very, very important aspect, so that you know that you are you have someone to call if a problem occurs.
Got it. Yeah. So before we dive into the final question, I just want to ask you and let people know that since today is the 12th of April and ICE Totally Gaming is going on in London, you can meet up with Stefano at the conference and ask him directly if you have any further questions about hosting for the gaming industry. Yeah. Right, Stefano?
Yeah. Actually, this year we promote our presence at ICE as Meet Your Hosting Gurus. We have seen in the past years that we operate in this industry that we actually provided both consulting and hands-on technical assistance to a lot of companies. So, we can confidently say that anyone at NETSHOP is a hosting guru, and we can help any kind of business. So we will be happy to meet with everyone during the ICE.
We can add to this because Stefano's company has been awarded at many of our conferences, voted by the industry. So yes. Yeah. So final question. What industry innovation will capture the most attention this year in 2022, and maybe not just the gaming industry? Maybe you can give some examples for the hosting industry as well.
Well, for the hosting industry, and continuing from one of the previous questions, cloud computing is a current trend. However, cloud computing has a lot of, let's say, branches. So the edge computing, I believe, is what will be the next innovation or the next trend. The edge computing is not to be confused with CDN, because for CDN we are talking about a very specific distribution of content in let's say in a distributed network. Yeah. I believe the benefits edge computing can give in let's say dynamic industries, e-commerce, forex, iGaming, I think it will be the next big thing. And slowly, providers, managed service providers, apart from the big guys, Amazon, Azure, and Google Cloud, slowly, everyone will be introducing features that will enable companies to, let's say, deploy their services in an edge network. This is, I believe, the next big thing in the hosting industry. We as NETSHOP, we have already started 6 months ago preparing a solution which is based on edge computing, and is targeted mainly, at least for now, in the iGaming and the forex industry. And I believe we will have a demo ready by next November, where we will demonstrate it in the Sigma Expo. Now, if you ask me about the iGaming and innovation in the iGaming industry, which is related with the technology industry, I believe AI and AR casino games will be the next big thing. The online casino industry has boomed since 2020 when the pandemic started, unfortunately, and it was at the time where AI and AR started getting into our lives more than before. Yeah. So now, after the metaverse launch in the world, I believe, AI and AR powered games will be the next big thing. So imagine that if you combine the information you got about what the metaverse is and what casino games is, imagine that you as a player, you will be able to, click at the Las Vegas casino and be able to interact as if you were there. That is what the iGaming industry will have as its next big thing.
Yeah. What about social gaming?
Well, social gaming again is something that interests people and gamblers. If we say gamblers as in players in the forex and iGaming industry, in the forex industry it exists since early 2000s. Now, yeah, and I believe with the introduction of AI in the gambling industry, I believe we will see some providers in the iGaming industry providing social gaming software. And this is mainly for skill games where someone wants to, he's not expert in playing poker. He doesn't want to read the rule. He just wants to have some fun. So he will be able to, let's say, follow a strategy of an experienced poker player and use that strategy to play his own game. This is what social gaming is about. And I believe it's something that providers will start promoting it, and is tightly related with AI and AR.
All right. So thank you so much, Stefano, for this.
Ahead.
Yeah. The backbone of every industry for the hosting providers.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much, and good luck in London, and look forward to seeing you in person sometime this year. And to our audience, thank you for being with us.
Of course. Thank you very much, Zoltan, for having me. Good luck on your next event, and for sure we will meet in person at some event soon.
Yeah, it's been a while. Thank you.
Thank you for joining. Be sure to check back next week for the next HIPTHER Talks, and subscribe on Amazon Music, Overcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, and Pandora.